everyone. I am Kel from the Dolphin Communication Project. But Dolphin Communication Project is a lot to say over and over all the time. So we're going to call us DCP because that's a lot easier. And I'm going to tell you a secret before we get started. I was almost late to this webinar because dolphins swam by right outside my window. And so I had to watch them. But then I ran to my computer and I got here just in time. So we are going to be joined today by Dr. Justin Gregg. We can move to the next slide.
Boop. Oh gosh, there we go.
And Justin, you can call him Dr. Justin, and he is the author of 22 Fantastical Facts about Dolphins. And he has been part of the DCP team since 2004. So I'm guessing that he has been part of DCP longer than some of you have been alive. Probably fair to say. So just remember, folks, please stop drawing on your screens so that everyone can enjoy the presentation. Make sure you submit your questions, to the chat. You can submit the questions to everyone, or you can submit the questions just to Dolphin Communication Project. And we are giving away a real, it's gonna make my background go all crazy, a real physical copy of Dr. Justin's book. So if you want to be entered into the drawing to win that book, go ahead and put your email address or ask your parents if they can put your email address into the chat. Again, if you don't want to put it to everyone, feel free to put it directly to me, Dolphin Communication Project, and then we'll do a drawing at the end, and a lucky winner will get a copy of the book. And with all of that, I turn it over to you, Dr. Justin.
That's me, Dr. Justin. Okay, I think I managed to stop people from drawing on the thing. I didn't know that was possible, but we figured it out. So, okay. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you / not see you, since I can't see anybody except Linnea and Cal. Hello, Linnea. So what I'm going to try and do is get through about 15 really cool, awesome facts about dolphins in 15 minutes, which gives me about a minute per amazing fact. Kel, do you think I can do it?
I'm going to get my timer out.
Okay, please don't. That's way too much pressure. Okay, so fact number 1, as you can see from this beautiful picture of this very adorable dolphin, dolphins do not sleep. So there's a weird fact. They do kind of sleep, but not in the way that humans sleep, because what happens with us is we go to bed at night and we are fully unconscious and not awake, and we sleep for 8 hours and then we're up and awake. Now, dolphins do not do that. They sleep for 8 hours, but they do this crazy thing of only sleeping 1/2 of their brain at a time. So why would they need to do that? Well, because dolphins, unlike humans, have to think about every single breath that they take when they're out in the ocean. So we, of course, can go to sleep or play a video game and we're not thinking about our breathing. We just automatically breathe. But dolphins don't automatically breathe. They literally have to say, all right, buddy, go up to the surface and take a breath, which means if a dolphin were to be fully unconscious while it was swimming out in the ocean, it would sink and not breathe and die. So they have to be awake at all times, or at least half of their brain. So the solution they came up with: sleep 1/2 for 4 hours, the other half for 4 hours, and boom, you've got your 8 hours of sleep. And Kel, you've probably seen plenty of sleeping dolphins in your day. You can usually tell a dolphin is sleeping because it has one eye closed, corresponding with the half of the brain that is asleep, and they sort of lazily float up at the surface. So they've done experiments to see how long dolphins are awake / asleep at the same time. And there was a famous study where they had one dolphin and they would do an experiment where they played a tone, and every time the dolphin heard that tone, it had to hit a paddle, and then they could tell whether or not it was awake if it was hitting the paddle. And they did that for a few hours, and then they did that for overnight, and then they did that for a day and another day, and they did it for 5 whole days, and the dolphin was awake and hitting the paddle, and they're like, okay, just stop the experiment. Apparently this dolphin never sleeps. So there you go. First one, dolphins don't sleep. Next, dolphins almost never drown. So you remember how I said dolphins are conscious breathers. They have to think about every breath that they take. which means because they have a blowhole on the top of their head that opens for them to breathe, they have to think about opening it. So the default for a dolphin's blowhole is then closed. It's always closed all the time, which means if a dolphin were to be ever knocked unconscious and go underwater, it wouldn't drown because water wouldn't get into its lungs because its lungs are prevented from getting water in from the blowhole. So dolphins never inhale water, essentially. So in that sense, they would never drown. They would suffocate. If a dolphin were to be underwater and not able to breathe, it would suffocate and not drown. So there you go. Cool fact number 2. How am I doing on time there, Kel?
Well, I got the stopwatch. You're doing good.
Okay, good. I feel like I'm rushing through it, but we got so many cool facts. We're going to have to do them all. Next one. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, God, I went through one too quickly. I'll go back. There we are. Dolphins don't drink water. So this is a crazy but true fact. So dolphins live in the ocean, right? There's water everywhere. So you think, oh, well, they just drink some seawater. But you can't drink seawater if you're a mammal. You guys, if you were to go out in the ocean and drink a whole bunch of seawater, if you drank enough, you would die because you can't drink water with a lot of salt in it. Because if a lot of salt gets into your system, your body freaks out and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's too much salt in here. We're going to have to fix this balance. And so all of your cells start bleeding water into the rest of your system to balance it out. And you have no more water left in your cells and you die. That would be bad. So same problem for dolphins. If a dolphin drinks a ton of water, it would also die. Now, dolphins' kidneys can get rid of some of the salt, just like your kidneys could. So if you drank a little bit of salt water, that's no problem. But if you only drank salt water, you wouldn't survive. So now I have a question for you guys, which you can type to Kelly. How do you think dolphins get fresh water if they can't drink seawater? See if anyone gets this right while I drink some coffee.
Any ideas, folks?
What do we got coming in, Cal?
Let's see. I don't know. Everybody's getting in the right answers. I thought we were going to have some rain, food, fish.
Yeah, actually, I've never heard rain as a possible solution, but I bet that would totally work. I know manatees drink from hoses and things, but no, whoever was saying fish and food, that's exactly the right answer. Dolphins need fresh water just like we do, but they get it from the fish that they eat because fish are, of course, filled with water. I guess you could squeeze a fish like a sponge. It's possible. And that's where they get all their water. So there you go. Next up is dolphins don't chew their food. So if you look at a dolphin's teeth, like this river dolphin here, you can kind of see it, or any other dolphin, they have little sort of cone-shaped teeth that aren't like super duper sharp, so they're not good for like slashing things open, and they're not like molars that we have for grinding things. They have teeth that are just made to catch and hold on to things. So that's all that dolphins are doing when they catch a fish. They're not chewing on a fish, they're just grabbing the fish. And once they've got the fish, if it's the right size, whoop, they just swallow it whole. So that's what dolphins are doing, not chewing, but swallowing their fish whole. If they get a super crazy big fish, they might try and do a few things to make it smaller, like shake it all around or tear it or something like that. I bet Kel's probably seen that a bunch of times. Dolphins with a mongo fish in their mouth, and they're just like swimming around trying to rip it into small pieces. That's a thing that they do. Yeah, but if they have a piece that's too big, they might choke. So here's a crazy story. There was a dolphin once in an aquarium in China that had a big old fish piece stuck in its throat, really, really, really far down in there. And it's obviously very difficult to operate on a dolphin to get it out. So their solution was China brought in the tallest man in the world, who happened to live in China at the time, named Bao Shishun, that was his name. He's 7 feet 9 inches tall, and he has a huge, crazy long arm. So they opened up the dolphin's mouth, and he reached down in there with his giganto super long arm and pulled out the fish. So there you go. Dolphins have to be careful not to chew fish. Otherwise, really tall men will stick their arms down their throat. That is a scientific fact. So another fact, dolphins can sense magnetic fields. So here's a crazy story. The scientists and people who work at dolphinariums and things noticed that in the northern hemisphere, the dolphins that are in these in dolphin pools and things would swim around mostly in a counterclockwise direction. And in the southern hemisphere, they would swim around in a clockwise direction almost all the time. And they're like, well, why? That doesn't make any sense. And they figured, well, it probably has something to do with the Earth's magnetic poles, because if the dolphins can sense the poles, which are swirling around in the northern pole and the southern pole in different directions, then maybe that's what they're following. And so that's not such a crazy idea, since we know a lot of animals are able to sense magnetic fields, like pigeons. Homing pigeons probably can sense magnetic fields. That's how they navigate. And also there was a neat study that came out that said, now this is crazy, dogs, when they're pooping, will poop on the north-south axis. So they'll either poop facing north or south, but not west and east, because they can obviously sense the poles too. Now, I don't know why they would need to do that, but it seems like they might. In any event, dolphins have the ability probably to sense magnetic fields because of an element, naturally occurring element, which you can see in this picture here, called magnetite, which animals, including us, have in our brains in small, tiny, itsy-bitsy amounts. And so that will help, that aligns with the magnetic fields and gives you some sense of direction. So that might also be how humans can navigate, unlike me, who can't navigate because I'm bad and get lost. Now, dolphins beach themselves and nobody knows why. So this is a picture of dolphins, false killer whales in this case, which is a kind of dolphin, stranded on a beach. You've probably seen pictures of this. Occasionally a dolphin will get sick and will sort of get close to shore and maybe get washed up onto the beach, and you see that, and that's kind of sad. But then when you see something like this with like 100 dolphins all washed up together, you're like, wait a second, they can't all be sick. What is happening? So it is actually a mystery as to why so many dolphins strand at the same time. Does anyone have any ideas? I can tell you that scientists don't know, so your idea might be the right one. If you can, type it into the chat, and maybe Kel can write to me what they are. Any ideas as to why they would all strand like this?
Are they looking for a mate?
On land, seems unlikely.
No idea. Following each other. One is sick and they're all following?
Yeah, that is one of the main ideas, actually, is that maybe one of them is sick. And because they all live in these groups and they're so close-knit with their bonds and things, that they'll follow their sick friend, and then they all go back out onto the beach together, and they just won't leave their side. And sometimes when they're trying to rescue these stranded whales or dolphins, they will take one out and refloat it out in the water, and they're like, yay, you're free. And then it'll just swim back up onto shore with the rest of its friends. They're like, oh, no. So maybe it's because they're following their sick friend. But there are other ideas, and one of it has to do with the magnetic fields of the Earth. If these are dolphins that are used to following the pathways of the magnetic fields, and then those shouldn't suddenly shift and change, maybe they sense that they should be in the ocean, but actually they're on their beach, and they can't figure out what's going on because of differences in magnetic fields. Or maybe it's exposure to some really loud sounds, like military makes really loud sonar sounds sometimes, and that messes up their navigation ability. Anyway, it's a mystery. Now, here's another fun fact. Dolphins have crazy super healing powers. This is true. Kel, I'm sure you've seen evidence of this. So if you are swimming in the ocean and a shark were to bite off your arm, that would be bad because you need your arm generally. But also you suddenly have a wound in the water and it's bleeding, and that's no good. And if you don't get help really soon to stop the bleeding, you could die. Dolphins don't seem to have that problem as much. Kel, you've probably seen so many dolphins with flippers bitten off, and they seem to be fine.
Injuries that would have me in the hospital for sure.
And they're fine. And part of that is because their blood clots really quickly, which is super helpful for them. And also their skin heals up super quickly as well. And their skin and all that blubber is a really good protective layer against all the nasty bacteria and other stuff that lives in the ocean. So it's like they're wearing a little rubber suit that protects them from all this nasty stuff. And their skin is just super duper good at healing. So unlike us, like if we were to spend like a week swimming in the ocean, like our skin would like fall off and it'd be gross and we get infections. But dolphins spend their whole lives in the ocean and their skin does not fall off. So how am I doing on time, Kel? I feel like I'm blowing through these things.
We're good. We're on track. We're good.
All right. Okay, dolphins use tools. Another fact.
Oh wait, all the kids know that there's a quiz at the end, right?
There's a quiz, right? And if you do not pass this, you will not get any dessert. I'm not really sure what the rules are. Every house has different rules. Okay, dolphins use tools. So this is a picture of a dolphin, and it's carrying a marine sponge. Those little animals that run around. Well, they don't run around. Little things that grow on the ocean floor, like Kelly's currently doing. I don't know if you can see her video. And so what some dolphins in Australia do is they'll grab one of these sponges, and then they'll go hunting in the sand for fish. And the sponge helps protect their rostrum, that's their beak there, from getting poked by all the spiny fish. So at some point, not too terribly long ago, there was a dolphin in Australia that figured out how to do this. And then she started teaching this to her offspring. And it's been going through the generations. So now there's maybe like 60 or 100 different dolphins in this group of dolphins in Australia that all use this technique. Mostly female dolphins, not so much the males. Seems to be passing it on from generation to generation. And there you go. They seem to have learned to use these things as tools and pass that knowledge on to their family. So another crazy fact. Dolphins can see your bones. It's true, kind of, maybe. Anyway, this is how it works. So echolocation, if you've heard of dolphin sonar or biosonar or echolocation, that's how dolphins in the water can navigate around they can use sight, obviously, when the light is out, but if their eyes are closed, they can use echolocation to see, using sound, the world around them. It works like this. They make a clicking sound, they go click, and that clicking sound travels out through the water, bounces off of something like a fish, and then comes back, and they hear it. And because of that bounce, they can see that fish with sound. It's actually something that you as humans, all of us, can do. If you spend the next month or so with your eyes closed, just making sounds like click, 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 or blah, 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 and then walk around, you'll notice like, oh, it sounds different when I'm facing a wall versus when I'm facing my friend or my parents or whatever. And so if you practice that for a really long time, like there's a very famous boy who was born blind who does this. He can ride his bike making clicking sounds and navigate just from the sound. Now, dolphins have been doing that for millions of years, so they're obviously very, very good at it. The neat thing about echolocation, yes, they can find fish and they can see rocks and that sort of stuff, but echolocation can actually pass through softer substances like sand. So if a dolphin's looking for a fish in sand, some of that echolocation would get through and it can find fish buried in the sand, which means it might be possible for a dolphin's echolocation to pass through body tissue as well, like tissue on a human body. So if you were to take, let's say, a coin and swallow it, don't do that. That's a bad idea. But if you wanted to, for science, you could try it. And I'm not advocating that. Actually, don't do that. Listen,
don't do that.
Don't swallow metal. But if you happen to accidentally swallow a penny and then went swimming with dolphins, a dolphin maybe could sense that penny in your stomach if its echolocation could penetrate through your tissue. It's possible. And in that sense, dolphins can see your bones with echolocation. And here's another crazy thing. Dolphins can hear each other's thoughts, kind of. Now, the crazy thing about echolocation is I make that clicking sound, the sound goes out, bounces off a fish and comes back, and I can hear the fish. Now, if Kelly is sitting right next to me as a dolphin or swimming next to me, and I make that sound and it bounces off a fish, she hears that echo bouncing off the fish too, which means Kelly can also hear the same fish that I can hear at the same time because of my echolocation. So means
I could make you do all the work of sending out that signal, and I could just steal it.
You could be a freeloader. I do all the work looking for the fish, and then you're just like, oh, I hear a fish over there, chomp, chomp, right? And we'd probably still be friends because you're really nice, but I would end up doing all the work. It would be as if Kelly and I in real life were sitting on a couch, and I was watching television, and she had her eyes closed next to me, and she could still see the television with her eyes closed. That's kind of what dolphins can do with their echolocation. So as long as they're swimming close to each other, they can hear each other's thoughts or hear at least what each other is echolocating on. Crazy fact. Now, how do dolphins hear? I don't know if you've ever seen a dolphin before, probably, because there's a picture of one right there, but they don't have like floppy ears on the outside at all. They're nice and smooth. If you look really closely at the side of a dolphin's head, you will actually see a little tiny pinprick-sized hole where their ears maybe would have been a very long time ago. And that would have been the external ear hole, just like we have, only they don't really use that anymore. It's kind of totally useless. It's blocked up with all this like tissue and things. So then the question is, how does a dolphin get the sound from the outside world into its inner ear, which is inside of its head? Who knows how the sound gets transmitted into the dolphin's head? Type your answer to Kel and we'll see if anyone knows the answer.
Any ideas? Any ideas? How do dolphins hear? Where does the sound go into?
Yeah. Where does it go into and up into the ear?
Any ideas? Gums.
The gums.
Gums. Their melon. Ooh, somebody knows their dolphin anatomy. Their melon, that's their forehead.
That's a good guess.
Their mouth, their blowhole.
All great guesses. So sound goes out through the melon, which is just under the blowhole. So that's not a bad guess at all, but that's not how it comes back. Some of the other folks had it. It's the jaw. So their lower jaw, where this woman in this picture is currently holding on to on this dolphin, is actually the dolphin's ears. That is where most of the sound comes back in. It hits the lower jaw, and then there's like a fatty channel which runs straight up into the middle of their skull where their ears are, and the sound goes up that channel. So dolphins' ears are in their jaws. So, it's totally the title of this. So if anyone could have read that, they would have known. I didn't even think.
If a dolphin were to grow a beard, do you think it would be harder for them to hear?
I can't hear you, Kelly, because I'm growing a beard because of this pandemic. I'm sorry.
I see.
But yes, I would say it would be harder for them to hear. And strangely enough, when little baby dolphins are born, they do have little itsy bitsy hairs that grow out of their chins that then fall out. So they have baby dolphins are born with mini beards. Anyway, another fun fact. Wasn't on the list. So next up, dolphins sometimes have backwards dorsal fins. This is a picture of a spinner dolphin. I don't know if you've heard of that species. They live out in Hawaii, among other places. And this is a adult male dolphin. And if you look at his dorsal fin, it legit looks like it's fully on backwards, like someone just took it and twisted it. It's facing the wrong direction. And the question is, what is happening there? That is crazy. Who has an idea as to why this dolphin's dorsal fin is on backwards?
Any ideas? Just to look weird? Just because they want to look weird?
They want to look weird. Yeah, no, not sort of. That's part of it, kind of, actually.
A deformity?
All male adult spinner dolphins have the same thing.
Does it give them an edge in swimming? Is it actually the better way to have a dorsal fin?
That's a very good suggestion. In fact, a lot of scientists thought that's exactly what it does, was it makes them swim better. But that's probably not the answer.
Something to do with their spinning.
No, also a good question, because their spinner dolphins are famous for jumping out of the water and doing these crazy spins, then plopping back in. But that's probably not it either. The answer, should I tell them the answer, Kelly?
I think we're ready.
Okay, the answer is they have backward dorsal fins, and it might actually make it harder to swim. And it looks crazy, like someone was saying. And so the reason that this happens is the same reason that moose and deer have these crazy giant antlers, which make it hard to walk through the forest, which is if you're a male and you have crazy antlers, what you're saying is, hey, look, this stupid fin that makes it hard to swim, or these giant antlers that make it hard to walk through a forest, it's so hard to live like this.
It's so heavy.
So heavy that if I can survive with this crazy problem, then I am a big manly guy and you're going to want to hang out with me. So that's it. It's just signaling like my life is crazy with this backward dorsal fin and I'm still here. Therefore, I am strong and cool and you should mate with me. That's all it is. So anytime you see an animal with some like insane thing, you're like, why is the tail so long? Or like, what is going on? Sometimes it's these displays to show how manly they are. It's usually the guys, of course. So next up, dolphins communicate with their nostrils. So this is a picture of the top of a dolphin, and you can see its blowhole. It's just this one hole in the top of its head. So a long time ago, before dolphins were dolphins and their ancient ancestors were land-dwelling animals that looked almost a bit like a dog or a fox, when they first started going in the water to hunt around for fish and things, it was a problem if your nostrils and your mouth is on the end of your snout, kind of like when we're in the water and our mouth is below the water the whole time. It's dangerous and you might drown. So over the years, as natural selection took hold, dolphins' blowholes moved to the top of the head and started moving up toward the middle of the top of the head, which was a way better design because that way it's easier to breathe. You just have to crest the top of your head. You don't have to put your whole face out. And when that happened, the nostrils, like they had two nostrils just like most other mammals, sort of morphed into the middle of the head, and a brand new thing popped up on top, and that was the blowhole. And those two nostrils, which dolphins kind of sort of still have in the middle of their head, are used to make sounds. The clicking sounds used in echolocation. In some ways, they're also involved in making whistle sounds. So dolphins now use their old nostril anatomy to create sounds. Isn't that wacky? There you go. How are we doing on time, Kel? I must be getting close.
I think we're getting close.
All right. Oh yeah, we're almost at the end. So dolphins are covered in scars. Here's a picture of a rhesus dolphin covered in all these crazy scars. Now, Kelly, you swim with dolphins all the time, literally all the time. And you've probably noticed, as I'm sure you've noticed, they are covered in scars. Not just shark bite scars, although there's plenty of that happening, but scars like you see on this dolphin, which are caused by the teeth of other dolphins. So even though they don't have sharp teeth, they have teeth that can make all these scratch marks. And because, you know, dolphins don't have like hands to like fight and punch and wrestle with or whatever, they're usually using their mouth a lot of the time. So either when they're playing or when they're fighting, they're usually gnawing on each other. And that produces scars. For rhesus dolphins, they're usually covered in them so that they almost look like white. And there are these river dolphins living in the Amazon called Amazon river dolphins. That makes sense, right? And they are born kind of grayish, but as they get older, they turn pink. And the reason that they're almost all pink is because they've spent a lifetime of being chewed on by other dolphins and building up all this crazy scar tissue. So dolphins are usually covered in scars. Sometimes it's from playing together, sometimes it's from fighting together, and sometimes it's from sharks. Dolphins eat each other. It's true. Not like dolphins of the same species eat each other, but dolphins from one species will eat another because the dolphin in this species, does anyone know what species of dolphin we're looking at here?
Any ideas?
In this picture?
See some, wait, killer whale?
Yeah, that's the one.
But Dr. Justin said this was a dolphin.
That's right. There are so many dolphins that are dolphins, if you look at the science and the taxonomy, that still have the name whale, like pilot whales, melon-headed whales, killer whales. They're all just really big dolphins, and people call them whales because they're big. But this killer whale, otherwise called an orca, is just a big dolphin species. And there are lots of different types of killer whales. Like you guys, anyone in Canada who's been out to Vancouver has heard of the dolphins, the killer whales that live off the coast there. There are 3 different kinds out there, 3 different distinct populations that don't really hang out together. There's a resident type and an offshore type. You might have heard these phrases. And they mostly eat squid and fish and occasionally sharks. But then there's this one other species, the transient type, and they only eat marine mammals. So they only go out and eat seals and sea lions and occasionally porpoises and other dolphins. So there you go. Dolphins sometimes eat each other. And it's hard for a killer whale to hunt, for example, a bottlenose dolphin, because a bottlenose dolphin can hear them because they're good at listening to the same kind of echolocation. So when these killer whales are hunting dolphins, they have to be very, very quiet. They hunt in total silence. So there you go. This is my last fact, and then we'll take questions. So dolphins call each other by name. There are a number of species, but primarily the bottlenose dolphin that you see here. This is Flipper, the famous television dolphin, that have something called a signature whistle. So this is a whistle sound that a dolphin will produce that seems to refer to itself. It's announcing itself to the world like a name, like Kelly.
Yes?
Kelly. Yes, see, there you go. I say Kelly, and then Kelly is like, hi, that's me, right? Because I use the word Kelly. And so dolphins have something that kind of works like that, where they're swimming around and they're producing this one whistle that's different from all the other signature whistles, and then we know which dolphin it is. So they're not born with that whistle. They actually create their own whistle within the first few months of their lives by listening to all the other whistles around them and just sort of inventing their own. And they remember them for years and years and years, and they usually don't change very much from year to year. But they don't function truly like a name, because occasionally one dolphin will use the whistle of another dolphin, but most of the time they're running around just screaming their own name, which would be weird.
I might try that this afternoon.
Yeah, just walk through town going, Kelly, Kelly, Kelly. But you're not calling anyone? Yeah, that's kind of what dolphins do. So it functions a bit like a name. So those are all of my facts. So now we can take questions.
Yay. Well, I will, before we get into questions, in case people have to go, I'm just going to show you where you can find DCP's other webinars. So if you go to our YouTube channel, it's a really clever name, Dolphin Communication Project. You'll find all of our recordings, but they're also on our website. Dr. Justin has that slide. And if you look under the education tab, the recordings are there, and also the schedule that's coming up. And then Dr. Justin, can we go through, there's what the website looks like.
Yeah.
And we'll go through one more slide. If you didn't already know it, Dr. Justin is the host of the Dolphin Pod. Get it? It's our podcast. And so you can listen to that online or wherever you get your podcasts. And then our upcoming webinars, our DCP Dives Deep series is kind of for older kids. But if you really like dolphins, you might like it too. And this Thursday, our collaborator, Dr. Deirdre, is going to talk to us kind of about how we can study how smart dolphins are, kind of. So that's this Thursday at 1 o'clock. And then next Tuesday, I'm going to be teamed up with a shark researcher, because I'm a dolphin researcher and I'm not sure I can be friends with her anymore if she studies sharks. So we're going to figure it out. And along the way, we'll compare and contrast sharks and dolphins. So that is next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And then if you want to learn more about DCP, the next slide has our social media and our email address and our website. You can stay in touch. Our website also under education has some kids science activities. So your teachers or your parents can download coloring sheets and activities and word finds, things like that. And then if any of your parents want to support DCP and want to keep these webinars going, we have some other ways that you can support us: adopt a dolphin, become a member, get a t-shirt. And right now, if people spend $15, or for every $15 you spend, you can pick somebody. Maybe you know somebody who's a nurse or working really hard at the grocery store right now, or delivering packages, or somebody who's just feeling kind of down about this whole pandemic thing. I bet you're all pretty sick of this pandemic. Raise your hand if you're sick of it. I'm tired. I'm done with it. I'm ready for it to be over. So if you know somebody who needs a cheering up, we will just send them a dolphin adoption in their email for free. So thank you. And in case anybody has to go, now you've got the full picture. So Dr. Justin, we do have questions.
Oh my Lord, let's try this.
What is your favorite dolphin species?
That's an interesting question. It's so hard to pick favorites. I like Commerson's dolphin because they look like a little cow. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're like black and white and small. Commerson's dolphin.
Very nice.
There you go. Little tiny cow.
Excellent. Do you think the Boto dolphins might turn pink to avoid predators? Could it help them camouflage into the mud?
That's an interesting question. Boto is another name for the Amazon river dolphin. Do they camouflage? I don't. It's an interesting hypothesis. I've never seen anything about it. I'm trying to think of what the main predators would be out there for them in the river, and I can't think of anything from which they're hiding per se. So I don't know if that's it.
That's it.
But yeah.
Maybe just helps. And they don't have very good eyesight, right?
They're almost blindish. Yeah, they can't see very well. Yeah.
So it wouldn't help communicate something to another Amazon River dolphin.
Well, that's the thing, that the river is very muddy. And so whatever is hunting them probably can't see either. So camouflage might not be that helpful.
Which oceans do dolphins live in?
All of them? Is there an ocean they don't live in, Kel? I think that they're in all of them, except for the oceans on the moon.
How many species of dolphins are there in the world?
More than 2. Sorry, I don't know. The answer is like around what is it, like 35, 34? That's another one of these crazy facts. It's difficult to say where one species starts and another one stops. Because like those killer whales I was talking about, they live such totally different lives, the one that eat marine mammals versus the one that eats fish. And they look different. Their dorsal fins are different size. Their coloring is different. So you could make an argument they're not the same species at all. And then there's all sorts of ways to define where, how do you differentiate? You can do genetic testing, but around, I guess, the count probably is 35-ish, right, Cal?
Yeah, I think it might be at 37 by the Society of Marine Mammalogists.
Okay.
The group of scientists who decides. Because at some point, they just kind of have to decide, but the answer changes the more we learn.
Like other scientists will be in a room fighting with each other about whether or not there's 1 or 2 species of this dolphin. And so like eventually they just have a coffee and take a vote. And so that's how you decide there's a new species. Like that's.
Yeah. By the time you all are grown-ups, it might be totally different. 49.
It could be 12 species.
67.
67, yeah.
Last question, I think, and I'll give everyone one last chance to put your email in if you want to be entered into today's drawing. And the last question is, why is the skin of the dolphin so smooth?
That's probably has to do with being able to go super fast through the water, I imagine. If you look at other species that spend a lot of time in the water, they have smooth skin as well. Sharks and fish, they're streamlined because water is much denser than air, so it's even harder to get through. Like if you've been swimming, like you're fighting against it the whole time. Like you don't like struggle to walk down the street in the same way because air is a lot easier to get through, and water is harder. So most species that spend their lives in water are sort of torpedo shaped to make it easier to cut through the water. And so if dolphins had a bunch of like feathers or I don't know, like weird like hooks sticking out of them, like what else would it be? It would create all this drag and make it hard to swim.
All in the name of being hydrodynamic.
Hydrodynamic, yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Dr. Justin, and thank you to everyone who joined, especially a little shout out to Little Flower Montessori School. Some of the upper elementary students are here today. So thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. And if you enjoyed this, remember you can check out the recorded ones on YouTube.
Yeah, thanks guys. It was fun. We'll see you again.
Bye everybody.
Bye.